Hello, everybody. This is Tisha from What They Hardly Warned Us About, and I just wanted to welcome you to my podcast. Thank you for joining us. I'm excited about hosting, and I'm excited about having you as listeners. If you wanted to know a little bit about me, about who I am, then check out my Facebook page at Few Warnings on Facebook. I have a Facebook page there and have had it for a while and wanted to do a bit more than posting since that's my best fan base. I love those guys. Anywho, the reason I started posting and podcasting is because I wanted to dig into relationships and talk about things that were taboo to talk about in my circles. While I know that many of us are more open, some may have some taboo circles just like I have, especially when it comes to things like domestic violence, toxic relationships, sex, money, etc. I even got kicked out of a Facebook group because I disagreed with someone's take on money. I told people to prepare themselves for life and love and all of that, and she got angry, and when I told her I disagreed, with her take on it, she kicked me out the group. Anyway, before we get started, if you're listening on social media or YouTube, hit that subscribe or follow button so you can get more great episodes delivered to you on a regular basis. And if you're listening to us via YouTube on your phone, then turn on your notifications. And since this is October, I am going to shoot for 1,000 Facebook likes and 1,000 YouTube subscribers. So please, I beg of you, jump all over that subscribe or follow button for me. So our first podcast that we did, we talked about how do you know you're getting into a toxic relationship. And we're going to continue from that. We're going to continue to talk about toxic relationships. Now we're going to talk about being married to a toxic person. So I'm going to read to you the definition of toxicity as it comes from healthscopemagazine.com. So this is where we're going. By definition, a toxic relationship is a relationship characterized by behaviors on the part of the toxic partner that are emotional and sometimes physically damaging to their partner. While a healthy relationship contributes to our self-esteem and emotional energy, a toxic relationship damages self-esteem and drains energy, and I'm telling you that is true. A healthy relationship involves mutual caring, respect, and compassion, and interest to our partner's welfare and their growth and their ability to share, control decision makings. In short, shared desire for each other's happiness. A healthy relationship is a safe place, a place where we can be ourselves without fear, a place where we feel comfortable and secure. A toxic relationship, on the other hand, is not a safe place. A toxic relationship is characterized by insecurity, self-centeredness, dominance, and control. We risk our very being by staying in such a relationship. And to end the definition, to say that a toxic relationship is dysfunctional, at best, is an understatement. Toxic relationships will, in fact, drain you. You would lose your whole sense of self being in a toxic relationship. And as we're going to get into this list, 13 tips on what to expect when you're married to a toxic person. Characteristics, how do you know? In other words, what to expect when you're married to a toxic individual. I am going to tell you, it is just a draining effort. So without further ado, here we go. Number one, a toxic person will make you prove yourself to them, but whatever you do will never be good enough for them. Now, let's talk about this. It is important to note what that's all about. Toxic people typically do not shoot for the bottom of the barrel. Sometimes they do, and later I'll talk about that. A toxic person will shoot for someone that is better than themselves. And number two, they'll manipulate, and I'll get into that. But they'll shoot for someone that is better than themselves, and then when that person's feelings is all melted together, their heart is all soft, when they're in a married relationship, that toxic person will then take that person of character and have them prove themselves to them, the toxic individual, even though it's the toxic individual that clearly has the deficits. In other words, if you want to get me to move, if you want me to get me to do better, you have to make it easy for me to do better. So therefore, here it is, you're taking a person that, let's say, for instance, has a great career, they have a degree, they have a good head on their shoulders. Unfortunately, they lost it to marry a toxic individual. But now the toxic person is lazy behind closed doors. And they're telling that person who's running around like a chicken with their head cut off, you have to make it easy for me to want to give. And it's so manipulative, which is number 2. It's so manipulative because the person of character, they're already doing what's necessary to make the relationship work. But the toxic person is saying it's not enough. It's not good enough. They have a tendency to make you believe that whatever they're not doing is your fault. So there you are trying to run around, like I said, like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to prove yourself to them, trying to get the person that you quote unquote fell in love with initially. But what you don't know is they're not going to be that person for you ever. All that person that you fell in love with, all that was an act. It was just an act, straight and simple. They didn't want to do better by you. They wanted to deceive you to get you into the relationship, to get you basically to take care of them, whether emotionally, mentally, physically, practically, sexually, be that as it may. They're never going to be that person that you need for them to be because it's not in their characteristics. It's not even in their capability. They're not trying to. Let me move on. Number 2, they will manipulate. Well, you heard me use manipulate a lot in the first one. They will have the tendency to play on your emotions, guilt tripping. They'll make you feel like their failures are your fault. They will manipulate you into doing things that they're supposed to do. They'll manipulate you into, I think a good one is, not bringing up their faults. Because if you bring up their faults to them, well, you just crushed them completely. You've just ruined their day. You just destroyed who they are. Here, poor little them is trying to climb the mountain. And here comes big bad you, who have just torn them down by telling them they didn't do the dishes or leave the toilet seat down or keep a promise that they said they were going to keep. Shame on you for bringing that to their attention. And they will have you feeling as though it really is your fault. They'll manipulate you into feeling that it is your fault that they didn't do well because you're just a tough person to deal with. You're a hard cookie. You are the person that's hardest to please. And with manipulation, we're going to talk about a couple more things. Number 3, guilt tripping. According to Psychology Today, guilt tripping is one of the aggressor's favorite weapons. Going back to manipulation, manipulating us by appealing to our empathy or attacking our conscience, which puts us in a self-doubting, anxious, and very submissive position. I like the submissive position part because they get us to do whatever they want us to do while they do whatever they want to do. In other words, we want to speak up, we want to speak our mind, but we end up being very, very quiet because they want us to be quiet, and we're afraid that if we do speak up, they're going to feel as though we've crushed them. And now you're anxious. Now you're self-doubting. That's not a comfortable relationship. They will guilt trip you into feeling that if you don't do what they want you to do, you're destroying them. Guilt tripping number 2. When you bring up a problem, they'll turn it around on you. I remember years ago I was talking to a family member and I told them something that they did that I didn't particularly care for. And it was one of their amazing tricks. they turned it around. What about you concerning XYZ? Okay, we're talking about ABC, but then they'd bring up XYZ. What about you with XYZ? And I ended up going to a friend of mine and told them what was happening. And they told me, this is how you handle that. Whenever they bring up a problem, whenever they try to divert the problem, you stop them right there. You say, we can talk about XYZ all you want when we're done talking about ABC. In other words, you keep the focus of the problem on them. You keep the focus of the problem on what you're talking about. They will take it and go into another dimension and hoping that you will follow, so you will get lost and so annoyed dealing with them and get off the subject altogether and don't even know how you got there. Basically, you take that steering wheel, you put it in park, and we're not moving until this ABC is over. And I guarantee you, chances are they're not going to want to talk about XYZ. Number 5, they will make you feel like their failures are your fault. I talked quite a bit about that. But sometimes people will make you feel like their failures are your fault for things they never even intended to do themselves. Let's say, for instance, you need them to paint the walls, male or female. I remember reading when I was younger, that if you compliment more, you'll get more done. So here it is. They need to paint the walls. They don't get it done year in, year out. And they'll make you feel like it's your fault because you didn't give them enough compliments. They knew the walls needed to be painted. They saw two-tone walls. They saw paint peeling. They saw the walls. But it's your fault that they didn't paint the walls because you didn't compliment them enough. You didn't compliment them at all. So they didn't paint the walls, and that's your issue. You have to eat that up. Shame on you for not complimenting your husband or wife or whatever. They'll make you feel like it's all about you. You're the person that needs to improve. Even if you're good at something and you're really good at it and you're going forward and they need to get good at something, they will blame you for you being good at what you do. You're good at what you do, and when you go forward, that makes me feel like I can't do it. And they'll tell other people that. And they'll make you feel like you have to stop being you so they can start being better. They never have any intention of being better. None whatsoever. None. Number 6. I love this one. They'll walk away from a serious conversation to punish you when they have nowhere else to hide. In my first podcast, I talked about Beth and Mark. And one day, Beth was having a very, very serious conversation with Mark. And she put it to him. She got over the guilt tripping and whatever, and she just let him know that he was not doing the things that he was supposed to do as a husband. And she laid the facts down to him. Apparently, Mark got so quiet. And the quiet was to annoy Beth. In other words, but Beth knew his games. By this time, as long as she had been married to him, she knew his games. So he got quiet, and then she got quiet. And she just stood there and waited. And now he knew he was accountable. He knew he was accountable, that he had to answer. And when he realized that he didn't tire her out with his silence, he just decided to leave the conversation. Okay, well, I'm done. I don't have anything else to say. So that's it. We're done. And he just totally walked away. Just dropped it. Just walked away. But he used to do that, throw the silent treatment on her to hurt her. Beth learned, if you're going to give me the silent treatment, I've learned one thing. You'll start talking to me sooner than I'll start talking to you. You need me more than I need you. And so he just decided to leave the conversation and walk completely out. When they realize that they have no place to hide, it's like they'll go into their burrow. They'll go into hibernation. So they can basically stay away. They have nothing to say. Number 7, you'll be walking on eggshells. Going back to Beth and Mark again, it got to the point, unfortunately, where before Beth found her power, Beth was walking on eggshells around him. She didn't know whether to say to him that I need you to take out the garbage, because it now got to the point where she feared that if she said anything to him that wasn't pleasant or cushy, that he would be devastated. She literally was afraid to ask him to go take out the garbage, or if he put a promise out there, one of many that he didn't keep, honey, you said you were going to do this and you didn't do it. I'd appreciate it if you do it. She literally thought that he'd blow up or go into his little silent moods or tirades or whatever. She's walking on eggshells. And when you're dealing with toxic people, as I read the definition about what a healthy relationship is, toxicity is the opposite of that. You shouldn't be walking on eggshells around people, afraid to talk to them, afraid to just be you in your own home or be you around your own friendships. It goes without saying that those are not people that's even worth it to have in your life. If you can't be you and you're constantly tiptoeing around them like they're the big bad monster, well, normally we wouldn't want a big bad monster in our lives. But that's what it is to have a toxic person in your life. You're tiptoeing around them. You're walking on eggshells. When you don't even know what to say to your husband, your wife, your child, parent, your friends, your co-workers, even if saying good morning or how you doing is fearful, makes you fearful, that's something to look into. And before we continue, we want to talk about that. I want to talk to you about one of the affiliates that I support, Online Therapy. It is not like other online therapy sites. It's not just a chat. It's a complete toolbox. You will get all the support and tools that you need to be happier. I have taken therapy before. I know therapy works. Therapy rocks. Online therapy knows how difficult and expensive and time-consuming it can be to get face-to-face appointments these days with your already hectic schedule. They know how lonely and unsupported you can feel in between sessions. I've been there, like I said, because I've gotten therapy. Well, no more. This is therapy on your own terms. Online therapy is very private, and as I said, on your own terms. Just follow the link in the description box below and you'll enjoy 20% off on your first month. And if you're in a toxic relationship, you want to find your way back to you. So as I said, follow the link in the description box and you'll get connected with someone who is ready to help you. That is online therapy for you. Number 8. I saw this post once. I don't remember who the poster was, but it said, "You never apologize for what you did to me, but I apologize 12 times for being upset about it." You will apologize for things they did. However, they will make you feel guilty when you hold them accountable. If you have to get down dirty where the rubber meets the road with your spouse, and sometimes those conversations are necessary, when you have to talk about the inner faults or honey, you're late all the time and that's the reason why you're constantly getting written up. Honey, you have a temper and that's the reason why you're always on the hot spot with your boss. Here it is, you will tell them that. They get offended. Start giving you the silent treatment. Start nagging you about putting them down. Now consider, remember, you're talking to them about being late all the time. They're also late on their job. They're getting written up. They are getting suspended for a day or two because they're being late. You, their spouse, speaks to them about that. And here it is, you are the one that's trying to put them down. You are the one that's trying to beat them down. I know I need to do better, and it doesn't help me with you constantly bringing it up. Well, if they're working and they have this bad fault, when they get suspended or written up, suspended more specifically, or especially if they get fired, that's income being taken from the home. And yes, that does affect you. And so here it is, you bring it up and now it's your fault because you just, like I said before, you've ruined their whole day. So here it is, now you're apologizing 50,000 times for being upset about what they did but they never actually apologize for what they did. Number 9, and this is the joke. The pressure will be on your shoulders to change them, even though they don't want to change. They'll expect you to know what's best for them, even though they don't know what's best for themselves, even though they won't go after what's best for them. Beth, again, married to Mark, she noticed that he had low self-esteem and that he needed to, do some things to work on his esteem. And one day he told her, "You don't know what I need." And the funny thing is, she knew better what he needed than he knew what he needed. But he resisted her at every single point. But at the same time, he and other of their friends was holding her to an extremely high standard of helping him to change, but he didn't want to change at all. He didn't want to move up. He didn't want to persevere forward, but they loved pressuring her about helping him to change. Number 10, they will be there for the highs and joys of the good times, but they won't be there for the crisis. Although they will promise that they will totally leave you alone during hard times. Many times people will say things like, "If you need me, let me know. I'll be there for you." But then when you do need them, they don't answer the phone. They're too busy. And as far as spouses are concerned, toxic spouses, they will even say things like, "Well, talk to me. Let me know what's going on." And then when you do talk to them and let them know how you're feeling and some of the loads that need to come off your shoulders, they will disappear, figuratively speaking, into thin air. And they will leave you there. They will leave you there to handle all of the hard times by yourself. And now guess what? You do handle it. You handle it quite well. And then when it's time to receive the joy of all of the hard work, the benefits of the hard work, they're there for that. They're there right there by your side, like they've been fighting alongside of you doing what's necessary. They're right there for you. And you're wondering, where have you been? Emotionally, mentally, I haven't seen you. When I tried to talk to you about it, you disappeared. But when it's good times, I can share those with you. But bad times, nope. Number 11, they have a short attention span, or in other words, their memories are very selective. They don't remember those nasty things that they said to you. And if they have no place to hide, they'll blame you for the nasty things that they said to you. They don't remember when they put you down in those underhanded terms. They don't remember when they told you how sexy or beautiful another woman was, or how handsome and gorgeous another man was, when they know they said it to make you jealous. When they know they said it because they were feeling insecure and they said it to upset you. They don't remember when they said all of those things. Their attention span, their memory is very selective. And if they can't deny that they did say it, it's somewhere, somehow, your fault that they said it. They will create a scenario hoping that you don't remember everything. They will create a scenario as to the reason that they said ABC was because you did DEF. And when you put your foot down on that, nope, that's not how it went. Once again, they have no place to hide. But they will erase the painful stuff that they did, or they will recreate the painful things that they did where it was all your fault why they said or why they did, whatever it was. Number 12, we're coming to a close. We have 2 more to go. Number 12, according to Psychology Today, denial. That goes back into number 11. They refuse to admit that they've done something harmful or hurtful when they know they have. As a result, they refuse to apologize. And this can make you feel guilty and doubt yourself. When going back to number 11, their memories are selective and you don't quite remember all the details, but you just remember that they did something wrong. they'll start to make you feel guilty or doubt yourself with regard to the memories, with regard to the actual incident, with regard to the things that actually did go on. It's all you. And when they refuse to apologize, it makes you feel that you're wrong. Remember, they're the ones with a short attention span. They're the ones with the memories that are selective. And selective memory people, they're lying. Bottom line, they're lying. Number 13, they won't own up to their feelings, whether in public or private, but they will take their feelings out on you. I want to give you 2 examples for this. First, let me give you the lighter example. I was with a loved one last year, and we went to McDonald's to get some ice cream. I really wanted to go to Baskin Robbins, but I'm growling. Ended up going to McDonald's. Well, McDonald's didn't give me great service, so I wasn't going to take it. I was just like, okay, well, family member, you can go ahead on an order. I'm going to go to Baskin Robbins. When the person heard me say that, they started to give me much better service, and they served me right away, even though the service was still terrible. I shouldn't have said McDonald's. Sorry. But the other person, they didn't get their order right away. They ordered something very, very simple. They wanted a frappe, and it took them about 15 minutes to get that frappe made. They were so upset, but they could not tell them. They have a hard time with expressing their anger. They have a hard time expressing it. I was letting them know, just tell them how you feel, but they wouldn't do it. And once we left, they began to make excuses for the people. Well, they're very busy, and at least I got it, and blah, 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 blah. Well, as long as I've known this family member, they've never been able to really thoroughly express what's going on with them. Second example, I'll go back to Mark and Beth. Mark and Beth visited in the early part of their marriage, a marriage counselor, where they began to talk about some issues that was going wrong. The counselor told Mark to do some things that needed to be done. And Mark kindly, my understanding was that he kindly agreed. But once the counselor was gone, this is according to Beth and Mark, because Mark told me this, he got so angry that the counselor gave him some tools that he needed to do to make the marriage work. He got fuming angry. And instead of telling the counselor that he disagreed or didn't believe it was fair, he turned around and started taking his anger out on Beth. He turned around and just started treating her poorly behind closed doors. Later on in the process of time, I saw Mark, and I asked him, about that previous counsel. It was 2 years later. I asked him about that counsel, and I asked him, why was he so angry after the marriage counselor was over? And he told me, he said, because he didn't think that the session was fair. The person gave him a lot of tools to do, but they didn't give anything to Beth. And my understanding was that Mark went into the counseling session admitting that a lot of things were just his fault. And because of that admission, the person decided to help him out a little bit more. But he couldn't express how he felt. So he basically ended up telling Beth how he felt through his nasty actions. And he told me that he was blinded by anger. You go into a marriage council, and my understanding is that was a very gentle, almost workshop-y type of thing, and you're blinded by anger, and you take it out on your wife. It was the counselor who gave you the toolbox, not the wife, but he didn't know how to express how he felt. So he made her pay for that. So basically that's it. 13 tips on what to expect when you're married to a toxic person. Now, of course, there are more than 13 tips. There are 13 characteristics and so forth. I once read a list one time, it was 50. But regardless of which, as I talked about online therapy, you want to find your way back to you. You want to find yourself, because investing, whether you're married to a toxic individual, working with a toxic individual, your classmates are toxic, your teacher is toxic, you have toxic family members, best friend is toxic, whatever, they can make you feel like you're the one on the end of a yo-yo. They will wrap you up and play with you, push you away, pull you close, push you away, pull you close. They'll dangle you at the bottom of their string. You are not a piece of toy for somebody else's game. You're just not. Reclaim your worth. Find your way back to you. If you have to get therapy with online therapy, great. If you find a therapist in your neighborhood, that's fine too. Just get back to you. Reclaim your worth. Being held captive by these toxic people is not worth it. Now, I know that every relationship isn't the same. You can't just jump out of a toxic relationship. You're married and so forth. And leaving that marriage is not easy. So that's all I have. That's all I have to say. My name is Tisha. I'm from fewwarnings.com. Stay with us. Stay with us and we'll divulge into various things. And I hope to be able to help you find resources and point you in the right direction. You take care and I wish you the best.